Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission today, well, it sounds straightforward, but the ripples could be massive.
hmm
We are diving into the economics, the potential economics of a game that isn't even out yet, Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, and specifically, we're really probing how fragile the current AAA pricing structure might be.
Exactly. When you put it under the pressure of a true market giant like GTA.
It's basically a stress test, isn't it, for
Yeah.
the whole, $200 billion gaming industry. We got some fascinating sources from the listener looking at the huge economic and even cultural fallout if a mega franchise like this decides to do something revolutionary with its price.
Right. And there's this real tension, isn't there, between what the industry hopes the price will be, maybe pushing a new ceiling, like $100?
Yeah, they'd love that.
And this other analysis suggesting, maybe pricing it lower, say $50, could actually make them billions more in the long run.
It's a fascinating conflict.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. For the last few years, we've all kind of settled into this $70 standard, haven't we?
hmm The baseline MSRP for the big flagship console and PC games.
Yeah, it really firmed up around, 2020, 2021?
That sounds about right. And it was pushed, importantly, by publishers like Take-Two Rockstar's parent company, remember, and Sony.
And the justification was always, well, development costs are ballooning.
Right. It's become the norm. But the sources we're looking at argue that maybe this norm is built on shaky ground.
Built on sand, oh my.
Yeah, something like that. What's really critical to get here is that the $70 standard isn't some, legal mandate or an absolute economic necessity.
Huh.
It's more of a psychological anchor.
Yeah.
Something the industry uses to try and maximize that immediate profit per unit sold.
But Rockstar, they're different. They have the leverage, the sheer scale to just pull that anchor up.
Completely. And potentially reset what consumers expect globally.
Okay, let's dive into that first big what if, the $50 price point. What actually happens if GTA 6 comes out swinging at $50?
Yeah, that's what, $20 or $30 cheaper than pretty much all its major competitors right now?
While offering, well, everyone expects it to offer just a ridiculous amount of content and value.
Exactly. So the immediate prediction, it's a consumer and sales explosion.
Yeah.
Just completely changes the game, pardon the pun.
Okay, break that down. What's the first effect?
First, you get this instant, massive wave of consumer goodwill. Think about it. A $50 price for GTA 6, given everything we expect it to be.
It feels like a bargain, like you're getting away with something.
Totally. It feels like a steal, as the sources put it. And that
Yeah.
generates this huge positive PR storm that honestly probably outweighs the $20 they lost per copy.
So Take-Two suddenly looks like the good guys, pro-consumer.
Exactly. Which is
Yeah.
a huge strategic plus in a market where people are already kind of wary about microtransactions and high base prices.
Definitely. And then the sales side. You said explosion.
Yeah, literally record-shattering. Let's look back at GTA V. That was 2013, sold for $60.
And it hit $1 billion in revenue in 3 days, which was insane then.
Absolutely insane. The analysis we have suggests that a $50 price for GTA 6 would boost the volume of initial sales so dramatically.
Because of impulse buys and just everyone jumping in.
Right, that it could smash that billion-dollar mark in maybe under 48 hours.
Wow, that speed, that sales velocity. That's almost unprecedented in any entertainment launch, isn't it?
Pretty much. It's pure immediate market dominance. But, like you hinted, this isn't just Take-Two being generous.
No, it feels calculated.
It's sophisticated economic warfare, as the sources frame it. It's strategic undercutting, a power play.
They weaponize the lower price.
Totally. To instantly make every other $70 AAA game look, frankly, overpriced.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't that a massive risk financially? I mean, leaving $20 on the table if they sell, say, 100 million copies eventually.
That's $2 billion in potential upfront revenue gone. Yeah.
So how do they justify giving that up? Just gambling that people will buy more shark cards later.
Well, that's the core question, isn't it? And the answer seems to lie in how price elasticity works for this specific product.
Okay, explain elasticity here.
For a game like GTA, demand is likely highly elastic, especially around those key psychological price points, like $50 versus $70.
Meaning a price drop causes a bigger jump in demand.
A much bigger jump. The sources suggest that while $70 might limit initial adoption to maybe, let's say, 70 million units,
All right.
dropping the price by about 28% from $70 down to $50 might increase adoption by 40% or even more.
Pushing the initial player base way past 100 million fast.
Exactly. So yes, you're right. They give up maybe $2 billion in upfront margin,
But
but in return, they potentially acquire an extra 30 million players maybe more, who are now plugged into their long term.
The ecosystem monetization model.
Precisely. And that's where scale really starts to beat margin over the long haul.
Okay, let's drill into that model. What does that actually mean for the average player and for Take-Two's strategy?
Well, for GTA, the initial $50 sale, think of that as just the cost to get the customer in the door, user acquisition cost.
Yeah.
The real profit, the long-term money, what they call lifetime value, or LTV, comes from everything they build around the game.
Like GTA Online.
Exactly. The GTA Online model is the blueprint. We're talking recurring spending. Shark cards for in-game cash.
Seasonal battle passes, cosmetic items people buy.
Premium cars, big DLC expansions later on, all that stuff.
So if someone pays $50 up front,
But then maybe spend, say, an average of $8 a month for the next 5-10 years.
that adds up quick. That's way more than the initial price.
Way more. That could be hundreds, potentially close to $1,000 in LTV from that one player. Compare that to someone who pays $70 up front but gets bored and quits after a month. Their LTV is just $70.
Okay. So by making it cheaper to get in, they maximize the number of people who could potentially spend money month after month.
Exactly. It's the classic razor and blades model, isn't it? Sell the razor handle cheap.
To make all the profit selling the replacement blades.
That's the idea. Lower price, massive adoption, huge pool for recurring revenue.
And that low entry price forces that comparison you mentioned. Gamers start thinking,
Hang on. Why am I paying $70 for this other game that gives me maybe 10, 15 hours of a campaign?
when GTA 6 is $50 and it's this huge evolving world that'll get updates for years.
Precisely. It just resets the value perception.
Yeah.
And it could potentially normalize $50 as the standard again,
Yeah.
at least temporarily,
Forcing all the other big publishers, EA, Ubisoft, Activision, Microsoft.
to scramble. They have to justify their $70 price tag all over again.
And it puts them in a tough spot, doesn't it?
A really tough spot. They either have to consider cutting their own prices, which hits their margins hard.
Or stick to $70 and risk looking like they're gouging customers
Huh?
compared to the biggest game on the planet.
It's basically a lose-lose for the competition, strategically speaking.
So if this $50 scenario plays out, you've got gamers cheering, but inside the industry, a very different reaction.
Oh, absolutely. You'd move straight from consumer delight to, well, quiet industry fury.
Let's explore that fury. How would it manifest? We wouldn't see EA putting out press releases attacking Rockstar, would we?
No, nothing that direct. It would be much more subtle, more behind the scenes.
Mm.
But companies like EA, Ubisoft, Activision, they'd be feeling the heat intensely.
Some shareholders.
Definitely. Imagine being an executive on a quarterly earnings call. A shareholder pipes up. Look, Rockstar just launched arguably the biggest game ever for $50, and they're breaking profit records.
Mm.
Why are we sticking to $70 when it seems to be turning some buyers away?
Oof. Tough question to answer.
Very tough. So they'd have to defend that $70 price relentlessly.
Yeah.
The sources suggest they'd use careful corporate speak, right?
Right. Talking points.
Yeah. Veiled comments to the press about how their price reflects production scope and fidelity, or the need to deliver ongoing, high-quality, sustainable experiences. Stuff like that.
All while watching Rockstar just rake it in.
Exactly. They'd be justifying,
Mm.
while the market reality shifts under their feet.
And this is where that framing comes in, the anti-industry move. Because
Yep.
from a consumer view, $50 is great, right? More affordable, better value.
Totally pro-consumer on the surface.
Yeah.
But from a competitor's perspective, it looks like economic aggression. Like Rockstar is deliberately destabilizing the market.
Why destabilizing? What are they disrupting?
Well, they're essentially shattering the unspoken agreement around the $70 price point. It's like a tacit pricing cartel, though not an illegal one.
Okay, explain that difference. It's not illegal price fixing.
No, definitely not. Price fixing requires proof of actual collusion, like emails, meetings, explicit agreements to set prices. That's serious antitrust stuff.
So what is happening with the $70 standard then?
It's more like copycat economics, or maybe price signaling in an oligopoly, a market with just a few big players.
Oh, well, watch each other?
Exactly. One major player, maybe Sony or Take-Two initially, tests the waters with $70, justifying it with rising costs. The others see it stick, they have similar cost pressures, and they don't want to leave money on the table.
So they follow suit.
Right. It happens reactively, not cooperatively. It creates a predictable environment where everyone knows roughly what revenue to expect per unit, keeps things stable, keeps shareholders happy,
Until someone breaks ranks.
until someone like Rockstar, with the power to do so, breaks ranks. And that throws everyone else's financial forecasting into chaos.
And legally, because it wasn't a formal agreement. Rockstar dropping to $50 is.
Totally legal. In fact, the sources point out, it's technically pro-competition because they're competing on price.
Huh. Even though the effect feels anti-competitive to the rivals.
Precisely. The economic impact is potentially devastating for competitors, especially those without Rockstar's massive scale.
Right, that's the squeeze, isn't it? Smaller studios, maybe even AA publishers or those making mid-tier AAA games, they can't just absorb a $20 price drop.
Not easily, no. Their margins are already tighter. They don't have a GTA Online equivalent generating billions on the side.
So if the public suddenly thinks the biggest, most complex game ever should cost $50
Then how does that smaller studio justify charging $70 for their, say, 20-hour single-player RPG? The perceived value of the product just collapses.
Let's run some rough numbers on that. Say a mid-tier studio budget's $150 million. They hope to sell maybe 5 million copies. At 70.
That's $350 million gross revenue. After platform cuts, marketing, etc., maybe they make a decent profit, healthy.
But if they're forced down to $50 by market pressure...
Suddenly, that's only $250 million gross.
Yeah.
That difference could wipe out their entire profit margin, maybe even put the project in the red.
So they get squeezed out. It becomes harder for anyone but the absolute giants to compete at the premium end.
Which is exactly why competitors would see a $50 GTA 6 not just as competition, but as an existential threat, an act of economic warfare aimed at consolidating market power.
Wow. So Take-Two, who helped build the $70 norm, could become the ones to tear it down,
Making themselves look like heroes to gamers.
while being seen as villains by the rest of the industry.
All in the name of maximizing their long-term market share and ecosystem dominance. It's a potentially brutal but brilliant strategy.
Okay, so that's the $50 earthquake scenario. But you mentioned earlier some folks in the industry were actually hoping for the complete opposite, right?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. While Rockstar might be weighing up that $50 tactical nuke, our sources point out that some developers, some analysts, they were publicly wishing GTA 6 would launch at $80 or even $100.
$100 for a base game? What's the argument for that?
Well, the public-facing argument usually revolves around the sheer cost and scale of development. We heard that quote from a former Saints Row designer saying he really hopes it's $100 because the game's magnitude just deserves it.
Sort of a respect the craft argument?
Kind of, but strategically, for other publishers, the hope was deeper. A $100 GTA 6 would set a much higher price ceiling, or price anchor.
Ah, making it easier for them to raise their own prices.
Exactly. If the undisputed king of games costs $100, suddenly their $70 price looks reasonable, maybe even cheap. It could give them cover to maybe push towards $80 themselves, citing their own rising costs.
And this ties into those rumors about the GTA 6 budget being astronomical, like $1.5, maybe $2 billion?
Yeah, the speculation is nuts, but that $1.5 to $2 billion figure keeps popping up in the analysis we looked at. And if that's even close to accurate,
That demands a different kind of revenue strategy. Where does that kind of money even go?
well, think about it. It's not just the core coding and design. It's potentially thousands of developers working globally for maybe 8 to 10 years.
Right.
It's refining the game engine across multiple console generations. It's insane levels of QA testing, localization for dozens of languages.
What's marketing? That's got to be huge.
Oh, easily hundreds of millions just for marketing on a title this big, maybe $300 million plus. And then there's building out the server infrastructure for the online component before launch so it doesn't just collapse on day one. That's massive capital spending.
Okay, yeah. When you break it down like that, $2 billion starts to sound less impossible.
Less impossible, yeah. So for another developer who's maybe struggling to justify their own $300 million budget to shareholders,
Seeing GTA 6 launch at $100 would be like a gift.
kind of a lifeline, yeah. It helps normalize higher costs and higher prices across the board.
Okay.
It legitimizes their own potential $80, $90 price tags.
Okay, so the industry hope for $100 makes sense from their perspective. But what about the players? The research you mentioned earlier suggested pretty strong resistance.
Oh, absolutely. The data seems pretty clear on this. Well, $70 has become maybe reluctantly accepted. $100 seems to be a psychological cliff edge for a lot of people.
A hard limit.
Seems like it. The numbers cited suggest only maybe 35% of U.S. adults would actually buy the game at $100 near launch. Compare that to much higher numbers expected at $70 or obviously $50.
But wait, 35% of the potential market for GTA 6? That's still a lot of people, isn't it? If they sell, say, 35 million copies right away at $100.
That's $3.5 billion in upfront revenue, which sounds amazing, right?
Right.
Pure margin play.
Yeah. So why wouldn't they do that?
Because it's potentially very short-sighted, especially for a game built around a long-term online ecosystem.
How so?
That $100 price tag might generate huge initial revenue, but it risks alienating millions of potential players who would have bought it at $70 or $50.
People who just say, nope, too much.
Exactly. Or they decide to wait 6 months for the first sale. Or worse, from the publisher's perspective, maybe it increases the temptation for piracy.
And that delay, that waiting, it hurts the online part.
Critically, the whole GTA Online model relies on having a massive, dense population of players from day one. That creates the buzz, the shared experiences, the momentum.
If you stunt that initial growth by pricing too high,
You lose millions of potential long-term customers for that recurring revenue stream. You might gain a bit more margin up front, but you could forfeit billions in ecosystem spending down the line.
okay, so $100 is like a high-margin, low-reach strategy, which is the opposite of what you want for a game aiming for total cultural saturation and a decade of online play.
Precisely. For a game like this, reach has to be the priority. Which brings us back to why $50, counterintuitively, might be the smarter long-term business move, assuming their online monetization is effective.
It really highlights how sensitive this whole pricing thing is, and just to kind of push that to the extreme, the sources touch on an even more disruptive idea, the $30 price point.
Yeah, that's framed less as a strategy and more as, like, pure market nihilism.
If $50 is an earthquake, $30 is.
The apocalypse. A $30 price for GTA 6 wouldn't just disrupt the industry. The analysis suggests it would basically kill the existing AAA model overnight.
How? By destroying perceived value.
Completely. Think about the consumer psychology. If the biggest, most expensive, most anticipated game ever made costs only $30, why on earth would you ever pay $70 for any other game again?
It makes everything else look ridiculously overpriced.
Instantly, the entire perceived value scale for premium games just collapses globally.
And for those other studios, the ones without Rockstar's scale,
Forget about justifying $70. They'd face mass resistance to pre-orders, their revenue projections would implode, the margin collapse would be catastrophic.
it would force massive layoffs, studio closures.
Yeah, the analysis paints it as a potential market extinction event for the traditional AAA development model. That's why $30 isn't just aggressive pricing. It's seen as total anti-industry warfare. It's almost unthinkable.
Okay, so we've covered potential sticker prices, $50, $100, the unthinkable $30. But the sources also explore some more revolutionary strategies beyond just the price tag itself.
Yeah, moving beyond just the number on the box.
Let's start with this try then buy idea. Launch the full game totally free for 1 week.
And then after that week, if you want to keep playing, you have to pay the full price, let's say $70 in this scenario.
Okay, that sounds bold. What's the logic?
Well, the genius of it, according to the analysis, is that it completely removes the purchase risk for the consumer.
Zero barrier to entry for that first week.
Exactly. Millions of people who might be on the fence about dropping $70 day one. They'll jump in instantly because, hey, it's free to try.
So the launch becomes less about sales figures and more about just getting everyone playing.
Turning the launch itself into a massive viral marketing event.
Yeah.
Imagine the streams, the social media buzz. It would completely dominate everything for that week. Maximum hype, zero friction.
And then the psychology kicks in, right? After you've played for a week.
You're invested. You've probably created your character, started the story, maybe linked up with friends online.
Sunk cost fallacy almost.
Yeah, or investment bias. Suddenly, paying that $70 to keep the access you already have feels much more justifiable, even necessary, compared to making a cold $70 purchase decision up front.
It could convert a huge number of players who might otherwise wait for a sale.
That's the theory. You capture the impulse buyers and the cautious waiters all in one go. It's like the world's biggest, highest-grossing demo.
Okay, it sounds clever, but there's a massive elephant in the room, isn't there? The infrastructure.
Oh, huge. The analysis is very clear. Offering the full game free, simultaneously worldwide, that's potentially disastrous from a technical standpoint.
The internet just breaks.
Well, maybe not breaks entirely, but it would be under unprecedented strain. Think about it specifically. You could have, conservatively, 50 million, maybe even 100 million people trying to download a game that's likely 100, maybe 150 gigabytes.
All at the same time, within the first day or two.
Yeah. The amount of data transfer required, we're talking petabytes upon petabytes, globally.
And that load doesn't just hit Rockstar servers, right? It hits everyone.
Exactly. It would swamp major internet service providers in different regions. It could slow down everything else, Netflix streaming, business VPNs, basic web browsing.
Like a denial of service attack, but caused by hype.
Pretty much. It's a stress test on the entire global digital infrastructure, data centers, cooling systems, power grids.
Okay, so how do they make the free week feasible then?
The sources stress this. It would have to be a staggered strategic wave rollout. It's critical for managing the infrastructure load, not just a marketing choice.
So maybe North America gets it first, then Europe, then Asia, or maybe PlayStation first, then Xbox, then PC.
Something like that. Staggering it by region or platform, or even in batches of user invites. It allows them to spread out that massive download demand and server load over time.
And importantly, it also lets them capture revenue from the most eager fans first.
Right. The diehards, the ones who want it day one, hour one, they'll likely just pay the $70 immediately to skip any waiting or potential free trial bottlenecks,
So you maximize early revenue from the high-value customers.
while minimizing the risk of catastrophic server meltdowns from the free trial demand. It makes the whole world stop scenario manageable.
Fascinating how the technical limits actually dictate the rollout strategy. Okay, speaking of hype and maybe bending reality, let's talk about the ultimate hype scenario mentioned.
Ah, yes, the nuclear option of bundling.
Bundling GTA 6 with, wait for it, Half-Life 3 for $100.
Yeah. Now we're entering pure fantasy territory, perhaps, but as a thought experiment about value. It's pretty potent.
What would that even do to the market?
Total annihilation. I mean, bundling arguably the most anticipated game ever, GTA 6, with the most mythical, perpetually delayed game ever, Half-Life 3.
The perceived value is just off the charts.
Way past the $100 price tag. Even if people think GTA 6 is worth $70, adding Half-Life 3 makes $100 feel like an absolute, unmissable bargain. A steal.
You'd tap into two massive, somewhat distinct fan bases too, right?
Huge cross-fandom appeal. It drives immediate high-margin sales from everyone who wants either game, let alone both. And crucially, it justifies that $100 price point in a way that GTA 6 alone might struggle to.
It anchors $100 by offering seemingly $140 plus worth of legendary content.
Exactly. It avoids the mass resistance a standalone $100 GTA 6 might face. Instead, it creates a cultural blackout event.
What do you mean blackout?
It's just held.
Nothing else would matter. The media would call it the gaming event of the century. All entertainment discourse would revolve around this one bundle. Financially and culturally, it's the ultimate power move to achieve total market saturation and cement that $100 ceiling.
It's interesting. The analysis doesn't just stop at the launch economics. It kind of spirals outwards into the cultural legacy these games could create.
Yeah, it gets pretty wild. It moves from dollars and cents into almost like myth-making.
Imagining these launches not just as big releases, but as these generational, almost quasi-apocalyptic cultural moments.
Right. The idea is that a game launch this big transcends commerce. It becomes part of collective memory, a cultural singularity event.
And they frame it as the grandfather's tale, like how you tell your grandkids about it years later.
Yeah, picturing the year 2026, the GTA 6 launch.
Yeah.
Dubbed the first apocalypse in this telling.
Not because the world ended, but because normal life just got. Exactly. The story isn't about the game's plot. It's about the societal side effects. Yeah, kid, back in 26, the streets were empty. People stopped buying milk and eggs. The servers were on fire. We all just stayed inside and played.
Comparing it to COVID lockdowns even.
Yeah, COVID was just preparation for the great GTA glitch out or whatever. It's hyperbole, obviously. But it captures the potential scale of cultural distraction. A game so big, it measurably alters global human behavior, even just for a week or two.
And the sources, they really run with this idea, linking the increasing scale of these games to the fabric of reality itself.
It becomes this escalating, almost philosophical thought experiment about limits. Yeah. If games keep getting bigger, more complex, more demanding, where does it end?
Okay, walk us through that escalation after the 2026 apocalypse.
The projection jumps to, say, 2050. GTA 7 arrives, maybe bundled with Half-Life 4.
Yeah.
Now, the concern isn't just empty streets. It's preventing the universe from freezing due to the sheer computational load.
Okay, definitely tongue-in-cheek now.
Oh, for sure. But it's making a point about exponential growth. It'll leap to 2100, GTA 8 and Half-Life 5. Pre-orders hit 350 trillion players.
Across the galaxy, different species.
Yeah, across the whole universe. And the problem becomes overloading interstellar data relays and quantum servers. The scale becomes truly cosmic.
And this leads to the ultimate endpoint. The double infinite singularity.
Right. This is where the speculation goes completely off the rails. But it's fun. Half-Life evolves beyond just a half measure of life.
Into full life.
Full life. A game that isn't just in the universe, it's the universe. A perfect cosmic simulation, merging reality, and the game.
And the price.
Just one internal singularity token, the ultimate microtransaction.
But there's a catch.
A big one. The computational requirements for this full-life infinity squared simulation are described as literally double infinite.
Which means what exactly?
It means it's fundamentally impossible, a complexity beyond any conceivable measure. You'd need more energy and processing power than exists in all parallel universes combined just to run the damn thing.
So the universe itself starts to lag.
Exactly. Galaxies glitch out, space-time starts scuttering, quantum servers overheat. The ultimate game becomes the ultimate cosmic bug report.
A failure of infrastructure on a universal scale.
Proving, in this absurd thought experiment, that infinite scale, infinite demand is ultimately unsustainable.
It's a pretty funny, if out there, metaphor for the real-world challenges of constantly escalating technological and commercial growth, isn't it?
Yeah, it brings the whole economic discussion full circle in a very weird way.
Okay, pulling back from cosmic singularities, what does this whole deep dive actually mean for you, the listener, whether you plan to play GTA 6 or not?
Well, the core takeaway, I think, is really understanding that tension we started with. The battle between upfront unit price and the long-tail value of an engaged ecosystem.
And Rockstar, because of its unique position, has this incredible power to potentially reset everyone's expectations about what games should cost.
Yeah, they know, or at least the analysis suggests they should know, that the most profitable path isn't always the highest sticker price. It's often the price that gets the maximum number of people into their world for the long haul. Maximize penetration, maximize that cultural footprint.
So understanding pricing strategy. It's not just about how much you pay for a game. It's about how companies trying to control the market narrative, how they leverage scale.
And realizing that the perception of value is maybe the most powerful weapon they have. If Rockstar delivers what feels like $100 worth of game for $50,
They dominate for years.
like it makes that $70 standard look less like an economic necessity and more like, well, marketing psychology.
Yeah.
It's the price floor the industry wants you to accept for premium.
So here's the final thought to leave you with, kind of tying the economics back to that wild speculation we just covered.
Okay.
If chasing maximum consumer value like a $50 GTA 6 risks triggering an anti-industry revolution that could destabilize everything, and if chasing ultimate infinite content like that full-life infinity squared idea literally risks collapsing reality because the computational demands are impossible,
Right, the cosmic bug report.
then what is the truly sustainable path forward? What price point, what scale of ambition is actually healthy and viable for the future of entertainment, both financially and, well, maybe even cosmically?
That's a heavy question to end on.
Something to ponder, maybe while waiting for those infinite downloads. We'll leave it there for this deep dive.
See you next time.